the vast majority of art schools in the United States and in Europe don't at all focus on painting realism in oil, or painting realism for that matter, or even painting at all. That most of the art schools teach all sorts of things related to art, and I don't just mean sculpture and photography and whatever else it is, but just even in the subject of understanding art, or what they would call understanding art. And some of that comes from art history, and some of that is just pulled out of thin air. There's all sorts of ideas about the meaning of art, and why we should paint and why we shouldn't, and all these subjects. And you can find just as many opinions about every one of these subjects. So that if you're going to an art school, you're really going to go and listen to a particular teacher give their particular view on what is the meaning of art and everything else. But in terms of just learning to paint highly realistic oil painting, for the most part, art schools simply don't teach that. Or if they do teach it, they teach it from a very different perspective than just trying to achieve realism or painting what you see. And in fact, I think probably most art schools would even say that painting highly realistic oil paintings is not something that true artists do anymore, and that's something from history. But my point is that if you want to learn to paint highly realistic oil paintings, then you'd probably do far better, and it would cost you far less money to just take art classes from a particular teacher. Now, that's what I do, is I teach art classes, and you guys probably have heard that before. I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch for my classes, but if you want to paint highly realistic oil paintings, then you really need to go to a particular teacher and take a class that teaches specifically that, and you'll come out way ahead than going to like a 4-year art school. And in fact, 4-year art schools will cost you a fortune, and really the only thing that you can do with a degree from an art school is actually become a teacher, and either that anything from a kindergarten through junior high, high school, college, graduate school. Those people who get degrees from an art school or a university that teaches art will take that degree and then use that to also become an art teacher. So it's kind of a closed loop. But that is, if you have a degree in art, that's where you're going to, very likely, it's going to be where you're going to make your money. Now, the galleries that are selling, real paintings to people that are paying, a lot of money for these paintings, they don't care about your degree. They could care less what school you graduated from or whatever else, unless if they're trying to create a brochure, and they might mention that you went to some school of art or whatever it is. But for the most part, the galleries don't care about what school you went to. Now, there's another point I want to make, and that is when it comes to the appreciation of art, I might ask a student what they think about a particular painting, and they'll often will comment that they've never been to art school and they're not educated in art. But for me, that means zero. And everybody has an opinion. The more you paint, the more you're involved with art. Certainly your taste will change over time, and your taste can even broaden. But none of that has anything to do with somebody teaching that to you. Even if you study art history, in the end, the wonderful thing about art and about painting is that everything is inside that square. Inside that, on that canvas, on that square, that is the entire ball game. There's nothing else. I don't care, where that painting came from. I don't care who painted it. I don't care what their reputation was. At the end of the day, I'm going to put that painting in a frame. I'm going to hang it on my wall, and I'm going to walk in the room, and it's going to move me in some way. And that has nothing to do with where the artist went to school. There's a whole nother aspect to this that relates to this subject about art schools, and that is, who are the kingmakers in the art world? And then when I say that, I mean that if you see a painting where somebody's getting, $1 million for their painting, or even, $50,000 for their painting, that price is because somebody of reputation or a gallery of reputation has said that that painting is worth that price. And so there is this world of, who are the kingmakers and who decides what is good art and what is bad art. And that's going to be a subject for another video. But for the most part, going back to art schools, it is a closed loop, and it is teachers teaching students to become teachers. And it is not so much, in fact, a personal story of mine was I dated somebody back in, this would be in the 90s, and she went to the Corcoran, which is one of the top art schools in the country. And she graduated, and she said, could you teach me to paint an apple? I just want to paint an apple. And she had been to, this 4 years of art school. She had, spent a fortune on that tuition, and they never taught her how to paint. And so I taught her how to paint an apple, but that's something that she never learned in 4 years of art school. Well, I hope that's helpful, and thank you guys for watching. If you're interested in taking private classes from me here in Austin or online, just email mark@drawmixpaint.com and I'll send you information about my private classes. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.